Good afternoon, radio fans. Big Al here. It is Friday, July 24th, 2020, and today I'm going to be doing a long form version of radio news. Now, I gathered about 5 or 6 stories from Radio Insight, and I'll run through all of these stories as we go along here. All right, so in today's edition, or should I say in this week's edition, we'll be looking at some personnel changes at one of Atlanta's most popular radio stations. The Detroit area gains a conservative talk outlet, gains another one, in fact. And history made in the NFL broadcast booth in the nation's capital, among others. So, let's dive right into this week's music news for Friday, July 24th, 2020. Starting off with Susan Lee Taylor retiring from KCBS. Now, all these stories are courtesy of Lance Venta of RadioInsight.com. This story was published on Radio Insight's website July 21st, 2020. Morning co-anchor Susan Lee Taylor will retire from Intercom-owned all-news radio station 740 KCBS and 106.9 KFRC FM San Francisco at the end of this week. Taylor joined KCBS in 1997 and has co-anchored mornings with Stan Bunger since 2000. Prior to joining KCBS, the Indiana native has had a long career in music radio with stops including middays at New York's Z100, also at WLS AM and WLS FM in Chicago. During her run at WLS FM, she was known as Susan Platt. And she was also known for hosting Your For Lovers Only on KIOI San Francisco, which at the time was known as K101, but today is now known as Star 1013. All right, our next story is Julie Donaldson to become the first female with an on-air role in an NFL radio booth. This was also published on July 21st by Lance Venta of RadioInsight.com. Washington's currently nameless NFL franchise will appoint Julie Donaldson as their new Senior Vice President of Media and will be part of the team's game broadcast. The Washington Post reports that Donaldson will be responsible for hiring a new play-by-play voice for the franchise, but that she will also be part of the game day broadcast along with analyst Chris Cooley. He's the former tight end for the then Washington Redskins. She will also host all of the team's ancillary radio and television programming. Donaldson succeeds Larry Michael, who abruptly retired last week after 16 seasons with the franchise as Chief Content Officer and play-by-play voice ahead of multiple allegations of inappropriate behavior throughout the organization. Donaldson will be the first woman to be a regular member of any NFL team's radio broadcast booth. Washington's games air on a network that includes 3 stations in its home market, with games broadcasting on the Team 980 and 95.9, which is WTEM AM, and translator W240DJ, which are owned by Urban One. and ESPN 630, the sports capital WSBN, and conservative talk station 105.9 WMAL FM, both of which are owned by Cumulus Media. Donaldson has been with NBCSN Washington since 2010 as an anchor for its studio programming and Washington Redskins pre- and post-game shows and NFL pre- and post-game shows. She was also a news desk host for the past 3 Olympics for NBC. Prior to coming to the nation's capital, Donaldson served as a reporter and anchor for Fox Sports Florida, Sportsnet New York, otherwise known as SNY, and television station WHDH-TV in Boston. All right, our next 2 stories involve the revolving programming changes on air at Atlanta's V103. The first story is Frank Ski exits V103 Atlanta. This was posted to RadioInsight.com on July 22nd. Frank Ski has decided to end his second tenure at Intercom-owned hip-hop and R&B station V103, otherwise known as WVEE Atlanta. Ski has hosted mornings at V103 from 1998 to 2012, and then returned to mornings in February 2018. In between his 2 stints in Atlanta, Ski spent 2 years in afternoon drive at Howard University-owned 96.3 WHUR Washington, which is an R&B station. In a Facebook post announcing his departure from the station, Ski wrote, "This wasn't an easy decision, but I'm grateful this is my decision. My decision to leave is a result of wanting a different experience and my desire to grow. It's never easy to say goodbye, but if you understand God's promises, you can't help but to be excited for what's ahead." He also said, "We are in the middle of a global pandemic, national race tensions, a presidential year, and more. We have much work to do. It is my duty to use my voice to take our community to the next level. Stay tuned. Big announcement ahead." Prior to coming to Atlanta in 1998, Ski spent a decade in Baltimore working at V103, which at the time was known as WXYV. That station is now WQSR 1027 Jack FM and 92Q WERQ, where he was also influential in the then strong Baltimore house music scene of the late 80s and early 90s. Now here's the second story involving program changes at V103. Big Tigger moves to mornings at V103 Atlanta. Katie Burns joins for afternoons. This was also posted on July 22nd by Lance Venta of RadioInsight.com. With the exit of Frank Ski, Intercom-owned hip-hop and R&B station V103, which is WVEE Atlanta, has revealed its new morning and afternoon shows. Starting Monday, August 17th, afternoon host Darren Morgan, also known as Big Tigger, will take over as host of the slightly rebranded The Morning Culture with Big Tigger, while Kenny Burns returns to the station to host Afternoon Drive. Big Tigger has worked afternoons at V103 since 2013 and also serves as the DJ/music director for the NBA's Atlanta Hawks and NFL's Atlanta Falcons tailgates. He previously worked on air at WERQ Baltimore, WPGC Washington, and WWPR-FM New York, and had a long run as host of multiple shows on BET, including 106 in Park and Rap City The Basement in the 90s and 2000s. Burns previously worked at WVEE from 2011 to 2013. During his broad career, he had worked as a music producer, marketer, and executive, including time as Senior Vice President of Brand Development for Combs Enterprises, of course run by rapper Sean P. Diddy Combs, and Vice President of Rockefeller Records. That is, of course, Jay-Z's record label. Alright. They're headed to my hometown for this next story. 102.5 The Ride returns adult R&B to Grand Rapids. This was posted by Radio Insight's Lance Venta on July 23rd, which was yesterday. Goodrich Radio LLC's 1680 WPRR Ada, Michigan, and translator 102.5 W273 DD Grand Rapids has flipped to adult R&B as 102.5 The Ride. The flip returns the format to the Grand Rapids market following Town Square Media shifting Magic 104.9, which is WNWZ 1410 AM, and translator W285 FO Grand Rapids, whose programming is also repeated on WLHT 95.7 HD2 Grand Rapids, to hip-hop earlier this year. WPRR will also bring Premier Network's Steve Harvey Morning Show back to Grand Rapids. Harvey was initially carried by WNWZ until being replaced by Ricky Smiley's morning show, which is distributed by Ridge Media, back in March. The former Liberal Talk and Pacifica branded public reality radio format continues on WPRR FM 90.1 in Clyde Township, Michigan. The brand's other signal, which is translator station W237CZ Grand Rapids at 95.3, was sold to Grand Valley State University in June for $50,000. And finally today, we'll stay in the state of Michigan, take it down to Detroit for our final story of the week. Byrack launches Freedom 1160 Detroit. This was just posted earlier today on RadioInsight.com by Lance Venta. Byrack Broadcasting has flipped brokered programming station 1160 WCXI Fenton, Detroit to conservative talk as Freedom 1160. The 15,000 watt day signal and 400 watt night signal will feature an all syndicated lineup of Fox News Random Mornings, or Fox News Rundown Mornings. My mistake. The Glenn Beck program from 9 a.m. till noon. Fox Across America with Jimmy Failla from noon till 3. Guy Benson from 3 to 6 p.m. The Buck Sexton Show from 6 to 9 p.m. Dan Bongino from 9 p.m. till midnight. And Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie overnights. All right, so there's some of the stories making news across the world of radio over this past week, and I think I'm gonna keep making more of these long form news videos every Friday. So look for them between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Fridays. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of This Week in Radio. I'll be back into my info gathering for the Charlotte radio market, and I hope to have that video out by the end of this weekend, so keep an eye out for that. Anyway, this is Big Al signing off. Thanks so much for listening, and I will catch you later. Peace out.